Ilhan Omar continues to, hopefully, I mean, the best case scenario with what she does to all of these ghouls and goblins of the right wing is just shoot a bunch of cortisol in their bodies. They continue to freak out about her. This is in a segment, and we'll get to the Netanyahu reelect shortly, but you just had a prime minister who is ran a campaign on formalizing an apartheid state in contradiction of any type of law, if you take that seriously, any type of sort of basic human progress that we theoretically supposed to have sort of achieved. And this segment turns into a meltdown about Ilhan Omar talking about the atmosphere in this country targeting Muslims after the terrorist attacks of 9/11. And Brian Kilmeade he's worked up.
All right. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. She was last month at an event supporting CARE, which is the Council on American-Islamic Relations. And there's a soundbite we're about to play for you that has got some people upset because of how it trivializes September the 11th, the greatest terror attack in our nation's history, which was conducted by terrorists. And here she is talking about how Muslims in this country are scrutinized these days. And then listen to how she describes September the 11th.
Far too long, we have lived with the discomfort of being a second-class citizen. And frankly, I'm tired of it. And every single Muslim in this country should be tired of it. CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
Yeah, some people did something, like an unprovoked attack, killing people in the Pentagon, thousands in the Pentagon, and the Flight 93, as well as in the World Trade Center. Really? There's so few people that did something? You have to wonder if she's an American first. Dan Crenshaw tweeted this out. First member of Congress to ever describe terrorists who killed thousands of Americans on 9/11 as some people who did something, unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And can you imagine if she was representing your community, and you were in her district, how embarrassed you must feel today?
Many people are upset because they just said she was flippant about it. Some people did something. It was an attack that changed our entire country. I read that someone tweeted this out. They said, some people did something, sounds like a bake sale, but it does not really sound like a terrorist attack that killed 3,000 people and altered the New York City skyline forever.
So as a Muslim American, you should be more outraged because they sullied your religion. In the name of religion, they kill Americans and still do it on a daily basis.
There's so much to pick apart here. And what I find ironic is part of to pick apart is, and I'm so burned out on all of these tone conversations, but these are the people that are all, oh my God, people on the left, they're too uptight. They need to take a joke. By the way, sometimes that's true. And sometimes people are reaching for straws and trying to, I get when we get clips like that of right-wing figures saying something that's like, okay, that's slightly inelegantly put, but we can do better than that. They built a whole segment on a primary point, which is objectively true, which is that Muslims were both targeted and focused on by state agencies through policies like the Patriot Act, as well as through vigilante violence after 9/11. So groups needed to form to protect a persecuted category of people that had nothing to do with the September 11th attacks. That's what she's talking about. This is also on the heels, the third thing, of a couple of days ago, a guy being arrested with plans to assassinate her, as they continue to try to amplify the conspiracies and nonsense about her. And then that brings us to Dan Crenshaw. I will never forget. Here's a good example of an un-PC thing I can live with. I don't care that some guy on Saturday Night Live made a joke about his eye patch. I do not. And if you do care, and if it was offensive, here's what you do. On the next Weekend Update, you say, hey, maybe that joke was in poor taste. I'm sorry. Although, by the way, check out our back catalog of every single joke we did about David Patterson, the entire premise of which is he's blind. Okay, that joke went on for years. I apologize. Not let's give a national program platform to a fascist member of Congress. And here, Matt, what do we have up on screen here?
Dan Crenshaw, alongside a few other Tea Party people, I can't remember any of the names off the top of my head, but some not great people, was a member of, as Mike Michaels says, the oldest and largest Tea Party group. I'm just going to read from Mike Michaels. The oldest and largest Tea Party group on Facebook would like to congratulate Daniel Crenshaw, one of our Tea Party group admins, for his impressive win in yesterday's Texas District 2 runoff. Dan will easily win in November and is going to make a superb congressman. Now, another
Hashtag MAGA.
Another post you might like to see from Mike Michaels here, just to get an idea of what this, what the moderators,
I would like to get an idea of what kind of ideas were being exchanged.
How well was this administrated? Oh, here's Mike Michaels. At least the KKK was white supremacy run by whites. Now, on the other hand, the BLM vermin is nothing but black supremacy with white masters. So that's just the type of people that Dan Crenshaw likes to hang out with.
There we go. And so he gets to be and this is another, but again, this is a perfect example. If you want to take the angle of Dan Crenshaw, Dan Crenshaw is a far-right extremist who was part of this group, who ran on the wall, who ran on a pure MAGA platform. I don't even remember who was it. Was it Pete Davidson? Yeah. Made some eye patch joke about him. Honestly,
so he
I'm
looked like
sorry.
a porn star.
Okay,
it didn't even really make sense.
Who cares? Be an adult. Who cares? But because of a certain set of sensitivities, this guy, and again, it isn't like, hey, I'll issue an apology. Sorry about that one specific joke. Or I'll do you another one. Okay, Dan Crenshaw can come to studio. I'll apologize to him. And then I'll say, hey, my bad. Sorry to mock your eye patch. Incidentally, why are you running on white supremacy? Maybe you'd like to answer that on Weekend Update instead of like, oh, they were buddies. This is a micro version of the Samantha Bee Glenn Beck thing. It's like this incredible weird contradiction inside certain types of liberal and centrist types, where there's this extraordinary uptightness and oversensitivity, but then at the same time, a total inability to see what certain people are for who they are. And this guy is someone who is out trying to exploit and demonize Ilhan Omar when someone was just arrested for trying to assassinate her, and you're clutching at and you're reaching for straws for an inelegant phrase in a speech on an important issue which you're on the wrong side of.
Yeah. The speed with which they pivoted from the topic at hand, which is Islamophobia and Muslims being unfairly targeted, to 9/11 was really, really bad, and it was done by Muslim terrorists, kind of implies that the Muslims in this country deserved what happened to them after 9/11.
I don't think it kind of does.
It also
directly does.
Yeah. It also shows like how everything these people say is 100% projection, right? Because Ilhan Omar never even said the dual loyalty thing.
Never.
They only said that she said it, and that's because they were thinking of saying it about her.
Virginia's Corey Stewart,
Do we have this up on screen?
Here, was another one of those admins of that Facebook page. Dan Crenshaw, when asked about this, was like, I barely even knew I was a member of that. How is this news? So he doesn't think he should ever...
I have an actual legitimate question here, because I don't do this dual loyalty stuff for anybody, because it's mostly just nonsense. In general, even when marshaled against because it's just the wrong way of framing the issue. Like, you could say, hey, are you lobbying for the Emirates? That's like an actual question. But Dan Crenshaw, do you have dual loyalty to the Confederacy and the modern United States? And that is like my legitimate question to most frontline Republican leaders.
It's a fair question.
Also, the mention of CARE, and people call that a terrorist organization, not according to the State Department. One that is associated to this, according to the State Department, is the one Seb Gorka's affiliated with. But Dan Crenshaw doesn't seem to be too worried about that one.
No, I don't see any. I don't see any tweets about that.
I wonder how Dan Crenshaw is making the selections of which alleged terrorist ties he's upset about.
I know, but by all means, establish an Instagram friendship with him, and definitely apologize if you've ever been rude to him on a comedy show. That's really crucial, really strategic. Honestly, look, let's go absurd for a second. the equivalent of this is some, I'm being absurd. I'm not drawing a direct parallel. Calm down. But, SNL of 1930s Germany. Oh, my God, Hitler's mustache is so disgusting. That really hurt my feelings, and I'm a veteran. Oh, okay, why don't you come on Weekend Update? We can become pals.
There were also eye patch Nazis, too.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, you got to ask yourself, are people being systematically discriminated against for having eye patches in this country? I think the answer is no.
Sure. And again, it's not even like, if you want to apologize, cool. That's not even like the point.
Well, it's
the
a
point
joke.
is first of all, it's a joke. And that in general, I'm sorry, calm down. But the other point is like the gulf in between a throwaway joke and we're going to go all the way to flying this guy into New York and making his most prominent outside of right-wing echo chamber media exposure is, oh, look at this nice veteran that's buddying with Pete Davidson after Pete Davidson made a joke about his eye patch.
Yeah, that's
what they did.
That's
I mean,
how
that
you
is quite
launder
literally-
white supremacists into the mainstream.
That's it. And then all of a sudden that turned into a nothing story to a very real story.
Or sorry, I'll say white nationalist.
Oh,
just
yeah,
to-
no,
so
no,
Dan
yeah.
Crenshaw, so I don't have to invite Dan Crenshaw here to apologize to.
I'm
I'm
looking-
just going to say nationalist, so we can really be in the clear.